Good afternoon. Phil Lindemann with your Krystal 93 News from Mountain Comfort Furnishings and Design. The I-70 Mountain Corridor keeps adding people, nearly 138,000 cars in 3 days, Friday into Sunday. That's up nearly 4% in a week, up 8% in 2 weeks, and just barely busier, than the same time last year. Yesterday, eastbound, it was the busiest 24 hours since Labor Day Monday. The desk at the Silverthorne post office was closed all day today with no warning or signage. P.O. box access was open, but there was no one there manning the desk. Posted time for the desk is 9 to 5 on weekdays. A big thanks to listener Jennifer for the news tip. She was frustrated. She says, "No one is ever held accountable there. If it was a regular small business, they would have gone out of business a long time ago." Today's disruptive power outage at Snowy Peaks and Summit Middle School was contained to those two buildings. Xcel Energy says it was not a problem with their equipment or their lines. But getting the word out caused even more confusion. Summit Schools has been apologizing to parents. That includes high school parents who thought their kids were out of school. The district says a notification system did not work as expected. A single-car rollover on Guanella Pass stalled traffic for several hours over the weekend during prime fall color season. A 4Runner apparently rolled trying to park on a rocky shoulder. Hundreds of cars were caught up behind it. State Patrol and CDOT remind leaf hunters to park carefully and watch for traffic. Leaf peepers will be out in force through October. There is a heated debate on the Krystal 93 Facebook page. Aspen leaves or oak leaves in the fall? Listeners, they're split right down the middle. Wendy prefers the oaks. She misses the reds and the purples out east. Keith simply says yes to both. Brian Y. has taken the aspens, especially with snow up high and a deep blue sky. But maybe Brian T. gives the best pitch for Colorado fall colors. He toured Summit for the first time in over a decade and loved seeing the mountain layers. Bright yellow at tree line, orange on the slopes, and light greens in the valleys. This is Rock Knowledge with Geo Joe Newhart, the resident geologist at Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. Today, Geo Joe explains how the Gore Range and the Tenmile Range are actually the same range, separated only by long-gone glaciers.
The core of the Tenmile Range and the Gore Range are all the same rocks. These are rocks that are 1.7 billion years old. They were originally what we would call sedimentary rocks, kind of muds and sands deposited in an ocean basin.
The peaks as we know them today are relatively new.
The last big glaciation, peak of that glaciation was about 20,000 years ago, and the glaciers finally receded around 10,000 years ago. But those glaciers carved the mountains as we see them today.
These glaciers even cut the valley that seems to separate those two ranges.
Glacier came down between Buffalo Mountain and what is now Frisco. So a lot of the gravelly deposits we see between Dillon Dam and Frisco are glacial in origin.
Come back next week for Rock Knowledge with Geo Joe. Local fire danger remains high today. There's still no fire restrictions here in Summit. In sports, the NHL preseason starts tonight when the Avalanche play the Stars at 7. And in local sports, Tigers golf team played the final regular season tournament today at Gypsum Creek. Next up, they have regionals. Phil Lindemann, Krystal 93 News.